is NBC Connecticut News at 11.
I just want to feel safe in my own yard.
Right now at 11, searching for a solution to tackle crime, how people are showing up trying to make their communities safer.
She has a whole community of essentially strangers even reaching out to her, offering support.
Plus, strangers stepping up. Neighbors in Marlborough come together after a woman was abducted and assaulted. But we begin with some nasty weather, strong storms turning into downpours in some parts of the state. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us for the News at 11 tonight. I'm Mike Heideck. Keisha is off. Let's get right over to meteorologist Darren Sweeney, who's in for Ryan, with how long this rain is going to stick around. Darren?
Yeah, Mike, we had some nasty weather just to our north. I'll show you numerous severe weather reports just over the border to our north and to our west. But for us, those storms turned into some downpours. We did have some flashes of lightning, some rumbles of thunder. And now we're just looking at some broken showers here, working through portions of eastern Connecticut, western Connecticut, getting into a few more scattered showers. And it's all part of a slow-moving cold front. And I'll widen up the picture here. The last several hours, notice all the lightning, notice all the yellows and the oranges here. They kind of fizzle as they work south and toward the east. And you can see all these dots here, these dots indicating all severe weather reports, whether it's wind damage or flooding, but that stayed up just to our north, thankfully, for once, right? All right, so temperatures outside. It's ridiculously humid outside. It's rain-cooled in some communities into the 60s, but it's into the 70s. Notice the dew point numbers also close to 70. So, yeah, it's a slow-moving cold front, but it's not really going to bring us any relief anytime soon. Tonight, some isolated showers, temps in the 60s. It's muggy. When we will return to the sunshine, we'll take a detailed look at that. Coming up in my first alert forecast.
Darren, thank you. We have heard their stories. We've seen the footage of car break-ins, hold-ups. Now families are putting pressure on politicians to help with a solution. NBC Connecticut's Matt Austin is live in Glastonbury tonight, where residents came from several towns, in fact, came together with their concerns. Matt, what are they looking for?
Yeah, Mike, so folks who showed up at this forum tonight really calling for a tougher approach, and Republicans think that a special legislative session is needed to get it done. After a wild stolen car case and other violence.
It's crazy. You know, we just don't feel safe like we did 20-something, 30 years ago.
People headed to this event in Glastonbury to learn more about crime, especially involving youth, and what's being done to prevent it.
I was a victim of the car break-ins in Newington.
Now, top state Republicans are calling for action, especially after the kidnapping of a woman in Marlborough and the rising number of murders in some cities.
The real emergency facing Connecticut is the crime in our streets. It's not extending the governor's orders.
Those orders are Governor Lamont's powers related to COVID, which are currently being debated. And it's the pandemic that some think might be partly to blame for a recent spike in murders and uptick in car thefts here and elsewhere.
In every state in the country, regardless of whether the state has very tough on crime policies or perceived soft, it doesn't matter. Same exact thing happening.
While we wait for 2020 data, the most recent FBI report shows the violent crime rate in Connecticut, marked in blue, has steadily dropped for decades. That's also true for car thefts. And stats from the state judicial branch find youth car thefts decreased 19% for the first half of this year compared to the same period last year.
As it relates to young people especially, and they've until very recently haven't been going to school, and that's definitely a factor. Boredom is another thing.
Lawler believes police do need better access to youth records, something the state has worked on recently to help stop repeat offenders. Still, many, including at tonight's Safe Streets Connecticut meeting, think more needs to be done.
We still need to fix this. People shouldn't be fearful in their homes.
Okay, back out here live. What we're showing you is this brand new Glastonbury online real-time crime dashboard. These are the stolen vehicle stats right now running this year, just a little less than last year. Now, we also did reach out to the Senate Democrats for comment, but have not yet heard back. We're live in Glastonbury. Matt Austin, NBC Connecticut News. Mike, back to you.
There's people here to support her, and you know, we'll be behind her 100%, whatever she needs.
She was abducted and assaulted. Now the Marlborough community is coming together to help the victim of that terrifying crime. They're donating and making meals, offering other kinds of support as well. NBC Connecticut's Jamie Ratliff tells us how these strangers are coming together to help.
I don't know this victim, but you don't have to know this victim, right?
A blanket, socks, and candy. Privacy. Now, if you would like to give a meal, or if you would like to donate to the Sunshine Box, or if you'd like to visit the lemonade stand this Sunday, we have all that information on our website at NBCConnecticut.com. In Marlborough, Jamie Ratliff, NBC Connecticut News.
Berlin police say they have now spoken to the woman off the flooded streets. The town is hoping that the DOT will pay for the gates on the state roads, and they're hoping a FEMA grant can cover the majority of the cost of the others. There is some good news in Connecticut tonight when it comes to the fight against COVID. The positivity rate has now dropped back down below 3%. In the last day, just over 400 people tested positive. 10 more were released from the hospital. Our healthcare workers have been on the front lines of this pandemic since it started, and it is now taking its toll on some. Yale New Haven Health says they're preparing now for a possible nursing shortage that's brought on by frontline fatigue.
We are concerned about nursing supply. We have a lot of wonderful nurses, but a lot of people who are completely burned out after COVID who want to work fewer hours.
The hospital system says the workforce remains its top priority, and they may have to change the way they hire. They're putting a bigger focus on the pipeline of workers coming in and how they're trained, also how they can re-engineer the work they do so they can help to avoid the burnout and the exhaustion in the industry. Rite Aid is now offering a digital vaccine card to customers. It's through a partnership with Clear using their app. Customers will need to share their identity and then scan a QR code after they get the shot. It will then be verified to create a digital vaccine card. The rollout comes as Connecticut debates the possibility of using a digital vaccine passport as well. More local leaders and business leaders, as well as health officials, are getting behind the Transportation Climate Initiative. That regional agreement sets an ambitious standard for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and now some are calling on lawmakers to try to hold a special session in order to try to pass it. Supporters say we're running out of time to take some action. Opponents, though, say this will add some new taxes at the fees and the gas pumps that all of us will have to pay. Some new data shows that school policing disproportionately affects students with disabilities, especially students of color. In fact, the Center for Public Integrity found those students made up nearly half of the referrals to police for poor in-school behavior in more than 24 high schools in our state.
A lot of this stuff should be handled by the school administration. And honestly, I feel they abdicated their duty and just washed their hands of it.
Even little kids as young as, 7, 8 years old can end up in handcuffs.
Advocates are now calling for more school-based mental health services for students. Still ahead here tonight, onward and upward, the historic civilian space launch and the 4 people who are now on the adventure of a lifetime. Plus, if your teen has an Instagram account, you'll want to stick around for this next story, the new report and the concerns about mental health and that social media app.
All great things have to come to an end.
And they've helped thousands of families during this pandemic keep food on the table, but now more of these sites are shutting down. The help that is still out there if you're still struggling with hunger.
All right, Mike, first alert future radar behind me here shows clouds and a few scattered showers, maybe even a thunderstorm. But hey, we're going to keep this going right through Friday. What about the weekend? We'll detail some better news ahead coming up in my first alert forecast. Stay with us.